Welcome back, team. For a whole week, I only ate when I was absolutely ravenous, like stomach, soul-sucking, starving kind of thing. Now, I want to talk about why I even did this, how I did it, what things did I notice, what was the good that came out of this experiment, and what are some of the challenges that I faced. So, with that intro, let's get into it. Now, I did this because I recently watched a video on how our minds are disconnected from our bodies, and that's why we experience certain things that are not advantageous, but I'm not going to get into that, because I want to focus on the specific thing that our minds are connected from our bodies, and we don't really consider the fact that are we actually hungry when we eat. I thought this idea was really interesting, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was eating on autopilot. And when I realized that, I absolutely hated it. I hated it because the thought of just doing something as a robot without consciously knowing why I'm doing it irritated me. Now, I know what you might say, but Ruha, there is a reason you need to eat to live. And yes, I completely agree. But to add more to that, you need to eat to fuel your body, and you should only fuel your body when you actually need to fuel your body, not on some sort of schedule, but when you're actually hungry and when your body actually needs that fuel. And so at this point, I was really curious. I was like, what would happen if I just ate when I was actually hungry? And we all know what happens when I get curious. We start experimenting. So that's how this experiment came to be. Me asking, that's interesting, getting a little bit curious, and then thinking, let's do this for a week. So how did I go about doing this experiment? Well, it was actually really simple this time, because all I would do is just wait till I was starving to actually take a break and eat. I did nothing else but just check in with my body periodically and ask, am I starving to the point where I literally cannot focus on a task anymore? If I'm at that point, then okay, let's take a break, let's grab some food, and let's get back to it. That's all I did, just check in with my body consciously. Now, what did I like about only eating when I was actually hungry? There are two main advantages that I found to this method that just completely changed my experience with eating. Now, the first one is that I actually started to enjoy and crave food. Now, this might sound crazy, but I've never been much of a foodie, and I just thought, hey, I don't really care for food. I'm just eating it to fuel myself, and that's end of story. But by doing this and only eating when I was actually starving, I actually wanted the food that I was eating, and I actually craved the food that I was eating, and I actually enjoyed the experience of feeding myself. Now, originally having thought that I just don't really care for food, it was such a nice surprise to actually enjoy food and actually want to eat food. It was such a good experience. Now, two, and this is more so related to the purpose of doing this experiment, is that I felt more conscious while eating. When I starved myself before eating, I would actually eat consciously, like the act of eating. I would actually be like, okay, I'm eating, and I would enjoy the experience and have a good time while eating. Versus, when I would eat on a schedule, I would just go through the motions like a robot, and it just, the entire feeling of that, of doing things unconsciously on a schedule versus consciously eating because there's a reason for it and I'm actually hungry, game changer, man, game changer. This is gonna sound so cheesy, but I actually felt alive rather than, like I said, just going through the motions like a robot. But what about the challenges? Because there were some serious challenges. Now, I faced two major challenges that seriously made it hard for me to complete this challenge. And the first one was that when I would get hungry was so variable that it drove me absolutely insane. Sometimes I had breakfast at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning. Other days I would get hungry at 1 p.m. and that's when I had breakfast, which is really brunch at that point essentially. You know, for example, with dinner, sometimes I didn't want to eat anything after 6 p.m. Sometimes I was hungry at 11 p.m. And so this is great variability in when I was actually hungry, and therefore when I was actually eating, drove me absolutely insane. Because if you've been watching my videos for some time now, then you know I schedule my days by the hour. And so this variability of when I'm actually eating interferes with my schedule a lot and just ruins the whole point of me scheduling things. So it drove me insane. Now, another challenge that I escaped that I didn't actually realize I would come across is that how not to use food and as an escape from work. I think I briefly mentioned this before, but by doing this experiment, I realized how much I would use food as a way to get away from work that I didn't want to do, or take a break from work. Every time that I didn't want to do something, I would just get up, go take a break, pick on something quickly, and then come back. I used food as an excuse to take a break. And so while doing this experiment and trying to fight the instinct to take out food and just snack on it, or fight the instinct to get up and just go pick on something, was so obvious to me and so painfully stark that it was, wow, it was eye-opening, realizing that, oh my god, how much I use food to distract myself from things that I just don't want to do. So overall, what are my concluding thoughts from this experiment? While I haven't done this religiously since this week of experimenting, I'm so much more conscious of when I eat and how I eat. So am I actually hungry when I eat? I make sure to check in with myself constantly when I'm trying to feed myself, and be more conscious of the fact that, you know, are you eating because you just want to pick on things and you just want to distract yourself? Or are you actually eating because you're hungry and you need to fuel your body? Are you listening to your body? I've definitely tried to allow more variability in some ways in my schedule by leaving breaks so I can, you know, accommodate the variability that I mentioned in when I actually get hungry. And it's completely worth it, you know, the challenges are completely worth the benefits, because the experience of actually consciously eating completely outweighs the challenges of accommodating it in your schedule and, you know, going against your instincts of just picking on things. It's completely worth it. It's a game changer, and I've been so much more well off just eating consciously. So I love this, and I'm trying to make this into a habit. I highly recommend that you give this a shot and just try it out. See how this affects your life. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed listening about this experiment, and I hope you try it out. With that, until next time.